Welcome to From Root to Crown with Rebe, the podcast where we explore the depths of self-understanding and the mysteries of the universe. I'm Rebe, your guide on this transformative journey. In today's episode, we'll be diving into our last Back to Basics episode of Season 2, all about creating a sacred space in your environment. Hopefully, it will offer you some insights and tools to lead a more balanced, joyous life. Today, I want to talk to you about creating a sacred space. And I think that it's really important to recognize a couple of basic truths about defining what a sacred space is, let's say. One, it does not have to be the stereotypical witch's altar. Whatever pops up into your mind when I say witch's altar, it doesn't have to be that. It can be very, very subtle. So if you are early, new to your spiritual journey, if this is not something that others in your environment share, then it does not have to be obvious. And the second thing that I want to get out of the way right here at the beginning is that it does not have to be perfect. I would argue that it should not be perfect because a sacred space should be a tool. It should be a working space, a space that you spend time in, a space that you come back to over and over again to bring some intentionality, some peace and comfort into your life. So it should not need to be perfect for you to get benefit and enjoyment out of it. Let's start talking about what a sacred space might look like. I have many spaces around my home that I would consider to be sacred spaces. One is on my nightstand. I have a couple of crystals. I have my journal. I have a pen that I love to use. And that's it. Along with my retainers, my migraine medicine, lotion, and probably some chargers, right? So it can be interwoven with your normal life. In my bedroom, staying there, I have 3 crystals, like larger, more display crystals, grouped in a setting on top of my dresser that also is a catch-all for bobby pins and earrings and my skincare. So it does not have to be large and in your face and a dedicated space for it to be a sacred space. Here behind me, if you are watching this on Spotify or on YouTube, I will put some video in here. So if you are just listening to this, you might want to head to one of those 2 platforms to see the video. But here behind me, you see a little bit more obvious of a sacred space on my bookshelves. I've carved out 1, 2, 3, for sure 2 bookshelves, and I would consider this other one a third as part of my sacred space that I interact with daily. It includes things that are special to me. It includes trinkets that I have picked up in my travels. It has money from around the world. It has a clay snake that my son made for me when he was really little, along with a garden variety piece of gravel that he thought of me when he saw and asked me if it was a special rock. And I said, yes, it is. That's a very special rock. And so it's found its way into my altar space. I have the paw print from my kitten that passed, along with some tufts of her fur. I have working papers here. I have my journals. I have some Christmas decorations up. I have some feathers that I have collected from my yard, pottery that my oldest has made, tons of crystals, family photos. Over my right shoulder here is kind of more of a family ancestor kind of theme where I have photos of my great grandparents, my grandmother, my own family, along with some crystals and some other kind of metaphysical books on that shelf as well. But just walking into my home, you might look over at this and just say, oh, that's an interesting collection of crystals, and not realize that it is my sacred space and a working space for me, a space where I do give offerings to my ancestors and whatever deity work that I'm going to be doing. Sets of tarot cards usually live up there. Right now, they're living closer at hand here on my desk. But my desk is another really great example of a sacred space to me. It's where I hold space for my clients. It's where I pour out my own thoughts and wisdom, and it's covered in things that mean something to me. Some of them mundane, like paper clips and pretty post-it notes, and a whole bowl of crystals, along with, again, little things that remind me of special times or evoke a certain emotion in myself. So, especially if you are just starting your journey, you may not have enough to fill 3 shelves in your bookcase with things that are special to you and evoke the divine to you. And that's okay. Like I said, I have 3 crystals sitting on the corner of my dresser, and that gives me a moment to pause as I am choosing out my earrings for the day. So don't overthink what a sacred space can be. It can also be a part of your home that just makes you feel safe and cozy, whether that's your bed, a special armchair, the corner of your couch with a blanket draped across you. Wherever you feel a deep connection with the divine, that counts as a sacred space. You'll also notice here as you look behind me and check out the videos that I've spliced in here that, again, it's imperfect. It gets a little cluttered every once in a while. And part of the practice of having a sacred space is to care for it. So much like you would clean your kitchen, you have to care for your sacred spaces as well. But they don't have to be a separate piece of furniture that is covered in candles and animal skulls and obviously a place of worship if that is not what you are feeling called to do. At its simplest, it's that space where you are cozy, safe, and feel connected to the divine. So, how do you go about setting up your own sacred space if you are interested in curating one in your own home? The first thing to do is to find find the corner of a table or your dresser or your desk or part of a bookshelf. It doesn't have to be the whole shelf like I have over here over my right shoulder. It's the middle part of this particular bookshelf with books on either side. So find a corner that you can clear out and remove all of the junk. That is step 1. Remove all of the junk, put it where it needs to be or whatever is there, even if it's something that you're going to keep. Clear out that space and actually cleanse that space. If smoke clearing is part of your practice, you can do that. You can put selenite in that space. If you don't have any of that yet, that's fine. A wet rag, wipe it down, give it a good cleansing, and just have the intention that there is fresh energy in this space. That's as complicated as it needs to be. And then start to gather the items. that you want to put in this space. You can go about this with a couple different focuses. If you want to focus on evoking a certain emotion or reminding you of a particular intention, then you can look for a little bit more of a theme to the items that you are gathering. As I mentioned, this one here is about ancestors and family and honoring those who have gone before me, who are coming after me, so that I remember that I need to be a good ancestor, as well as honoring those who have already passed. And my intention for this space is to keep them close and remember the love that I felt and the lineage that comes before me. So all of the things that are in this area are something that reminds me specifically of my grandmother or my great-grandmother. I was very, very close to both of them. I was gifted with 18 years with my great-grandmother and 45 years with my grandmother. I am so appreciative of the love and the time that I had with both of these wonderful women, and having their pictures, having jewelry that was theirs, pins. My grandmother loved a good brooch or little pin on her sweater. So I have one of her pins tucked behind over there as well. Helps me stay connected to them. And on special occasions, it gives me a chance to just stop there in that sacred space and put my hand on my heart and feel connected to my ancestors. Some of my other spaces are more just about, these are pretty and they make me feel good when I look at them, especially the ones on the corner of my dresser next to my jewelry. They're peaceful stones. They're in my bedroom. I want to invite in love and magic and manifestation in that space in my home. So the things that I chose to put there are just little reminders. The magic here is not in having a grand display. It's in choosing something that anchors you, reminds you of your intention for that space, for your life that you are trying to come back to. What is your intention? What are you trying to create in this space? Having things that keep you focused on it is where the true magic comes in. So you've chosen your spot, you've cleaned it out, you've energetically cleansed it as well as physically, and you've gathered some things that you think might work in that space. As you go then to arrange the things in this space, just allow your intuition to guide you. There is no right or wrong. I am not worried about aesthetic interior design principles when carving out a sacred space. Okay, I have to be honest. I'm not worried about interior design rules anywhere in my home. That's not how I roll. But let this be a space that is more personal as opposed to polished or for show. This is a space for you and your spirit. So making sure that it's spirit led in what you put into your space and how you arrange it is going to be really, really beneficial for you. And then just start to play. Trust your intuition. Give yourself a moment. Doesn't have to be a whole ritual, but give yourself that moment to drop in and connect with the energy that you're wanting to pull into this space. Connect with your higher self and then start to arrange things. You may add things over the course of a couple of days. You may end up removing something, moving it around into multiple different configurations until you land on something that you're going to stick with for a time period. That can be a week, it could be a month, it could be a season, it could be longer than that. But what I don't want you to do is set up a space in a room that you never go into and never use it. That is not the point. The point is to have a space where you have tools and things that make you happy and things that are supportive to your energy so that you have a little bit of a sanctuary as you are passing by this space or interacting with the other things that are in this space as well. And then care and maintenance going forward. Again, feel free to play with this, add things and subtract things. But if your sacred space is a little bit more static and hasn't been really interacted with in a while, even if it's just that one crystal that's really pretty and just sits there and you don't actually take it down off the shelf very often, it still should get dusted every once in a while, just like you dust your shelf. You should dust the crystals. But care and maintenance of it going forward is important as well. And then coming back to it and refreshing the energy. Switching things out based on the season, based on what you're working on, based on what's going on in your life right now. Allowing this to be a place that provides active support for whatever it is that's happening right now is going to provide a really valuable resource for your energy and your spirit. Again, it does not have to be wild. It doesn't have to be this 6-foot table that's covered in scarves and tablecloths and melted candle wax and all those things. It gets to be whatever it is that you want it to be because it's your sacred space. And it's supposed to be perfectly designed by you, for you, and perfectly imperfect. So to wrap up here, what kinds of things might you want to put into your sacred space? I've mentioned a lot of these already in the podcast here, but just to summarize, candles are always a good option. Photos, crystals, decorations, your journal, artwork that really connects you to the feeling that you're trying to focus on and evoke here. It could be things that remind you of loved ones, whether it's your kids' artwork or gifts from other friends or something you've picked up on your travels. If you're trying to manifest something and call that in, having your vision board in your sacred space, having your little photos of whatever it is that you're trying to call in. You can have books that are about spirituality, about your practices in these spaces. Obviously, it's a great place to keep your journal and any sort of tarot cards or oracle cards that you might have in your collection. But really, there's no rules here. It could be your fine jewelry next to crystals, next to a photo, next to a bobby pin, and a pair of scissors to cut tags off your clothes if it's in your bedroom or wherever it might be. The point here is that you get to create your own definition and decide what goes into the sacred space. And anybody who tells you that there are hard and fast rules in this area, besides the fact that you should probably clear it energetically and keep it clear every once in a while, rejudge the energy. Any other rules besides that, pitch them out the window. I don't worry either if other people are interacting with my sacred spaces and sacred items. I don't feel like they're going to absorb other people's energy. I don't feel like even if they come through and doubt it and don't believe what it is. Like they come over and they pick up this crystal and they're like, well, it's a pretty rock, but that's about it, and set it back down. I don't feel like I need to go over and cleanse the crystal. Like the crystal and I know. We know we've got our relationship on point, and we don't need to worry about what anybody else comes through and says or does to my space. I'm of the opinion that if a crystal breaks, it's because you need more of it. You need more pieces, you need it in more places in your home, as opposed to its energy is dead and it needs to be thrown out. Chips come off of my crystals, or a small crystal breaks, I put them in my plants. I give them to the little girl next door that loves pieces, that loves shiny things. So I'm not precious about my sacred spaces, my spirituality. I feel like it has to be really effective, and it has to be really simple and easy to do. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. If you set up something that's too perfect, you're never going to take that crystal down and actually use it. If you're too worried about making a mistake in your journal, you're never going to use it. So trust that spirit knows what your best intentions are and is not judging you on your efforts. I hope that this has been a good conversation for you on sacred spaces. I know when I started on my spiritual journey, I really thought that an altar was going to be something spooky, and it just doesn't have to be. If that's your vibe and that's your practice, by all means, get witchy. I have no beef with that. Love me a good altar moment. But for those of us who are perhaps a little more suburban soccer mom and don't have the luxury of a full-fledged space to call our own, there are some simple and easy ways to make it feel special, make it feel sacred, and allow your spirit to feel supported without overcomplicating it. Thank you for joining me on this episode of From Root to Crown with Rebe. I really do hope that today's exploration of creating your own sacred space has offered you valuable insights and a deeper connection to your own journey. Remember, you are your own medicine, your own teacher. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. In many platforms, you can also leave a comment as well, and I would love to read them. I look forward to continuing this journey with you in our next episode. Until then, be gentle with yourself and stay connected to the wisdom within.